Donald Trump's presidency is about distraction, destruction, and intimidation. He knows he is too weak to get his illegal agenda across, and so he either has to distract us or intimidate us to try to prevent opposition. And that is exactly what we are seeing Donald Trump do in Los Angeles right now. But people are fighting back. I have been so proud of the protesters who are standing up to Donald Trump, and they're doing so in an even bolder way today after Trump was caught in a huge lie this morning that has everyone fighting back. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into this latest news out of LA, I want to start with the distraction Donald Trump is trying to push forth this morning, coming from Kristi Noem right here.
Question, though, of active duty troops, different from the National Guard. What is your personal counsel here to the president? Because it's you, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of Defense. We're going to have a lot of responsibility here in implementing some of this call to do this.
Well, let me be clear about something. ICE and Homeland Security are running these operations right now, and the advice and counsel of the Attorney General, the Department of Defense, are extremely important to the President of the United States, and we never discuss our personal conversations and advice to the President of the United States. He makes the decisions. He is the president that sits in that seat, and we are all very proud to work for him. So I'm grateful for the leadership of Pete Hegseth and Pam Bondi, and I get the chance to work with them. Yeah. And as does their job today, we're thankful to have the partnership and the leadership of President Trump.
Well, some Republican senators, like Senator Lankford, have said active duty Marines are not going to be put into local law enforcement. So there are Republican lawmakers questioning this.
Even Republicans are questioning and calling out this decision by Donald Trump because it is completely unprecedented. The idea of sending the National Guard to Los Angeles without any request or need, as we will get into in just a moment, from Governor Gavin Newsom is absolutely absurd. But it's not about keeping a protest that already was peaceful more peaceful. It's about doing the opposite. Donald Trump wants to create a stir. Donald Trump wants to create a moment. This is what started weeks and months ago when Stephen Miller realized he would not be able to hit his immigration and deportation quotas. So instead, they pivoted to just making these stunts in which they attack peaceful communities, ripping people from their families in the middle of an elementary school graduation. It is gross, and it is getting even worse because this publicity stunt is fine for Donald Trump, but apparently they care too much about their privacy while doing so. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Kristi Noem gave this BS argument that we have to debunk before we get into Trump getting caught in a lie.
Okay. President Trump said masks will not be allowed to be worn at protests. Who's going to enforce that and how? And how can you justify it when law enforcement officials have their faces covered?
You know, what I would say is that the law is going to be enforced, and that what the laws are in this country is what we are doing, and our ICE officers and our law enforcement officers out there that are in these situations where people have questioned why they have their faces covered. It's for the safety of those individuals or the work that they're doing as far as protecting their identity so they can continue to do investigative work. So,
but are you tasking the National Guard soldiers with removing masks from protesters? I mean, are you trying to use them in that way?
National Guard soldiers are there to provide security for operations and to make sure that we have peaceful protests. So that's what their work is. And I won't get more specific on that just because we never do when it comes to law enforcement operations. We're doing the same standard procedures we always do and have for years in this country with our National Guard and with our law enforcement folks that are on the ground working with these communities.
So
it doesn't even make any sense. They're sending the National Guard. They're sending in their masked thugs to shoot rubber bullets at people and to tear gas them, but you can't defend yourself by putting on a mask or covering your eyes to make sure that Donald Trump and his Gestapo can't do maximum damage to your physical well-being. It's gross. And at the same time, they get to keep their masks on so they can't identify themselves, so no one can ask who these people are disappearing and snatching Americans up off the street. We've seen law enforcement officials be detained by Donald Trump's masked thugs because they don't think they have to answer to anyone. That is the whole point. That is why Donald Trump is sitting in the National Guard, not just because he wants to escalate this, because he doesn't think he should have to answer to anyone. And if he can take this step, then it all goes wrong. If he can take this step, what else is he doing next? And that's why after Donald Trump made this post that we're going to check out, he got caught in two very dangerous lies for him. As we reported on earlier this morning around 3 a.m., Donald Trump congratulated the National Guard in Los Angeles for stopping violence and unrest that he claimed was happening while attacking Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass, also saying that he will be stopping protesters from wearing masks. Then, once again, thanking the National Guard. But a report this morning ran contrary to what Trump actually had to say.
And overnight, President Trump thanked the National Guard for a job well done, but we've actually seen them just arrive here this morning, getting set up with riot gear, all of these armored vehicles. So far, a lot of the response has been local law enforcement with some federal officers, but they are clearly gearing up for what could be another intense day of clashes.
So Donald Trump is saying that the protest became peaceful because of the National Guard that wasn't actually there. So the protests were always peaceful? Is that what you're admitting? That this is all just publicity and narratives for you? Well, clearly that is the case, because even the LAPD are speaking out against what Donald Trump did yesterday and what he continues to do in this statement right here. The LAPD wrote yesterday, June 7th, that today demonstrations across the city of Los Angeles remain peaceful, and we commend all those who exercise their First Amendment rights responsibly. The LAPD appreciates the cooperation of organizers, participants, and community partners who helped ensure public safety throughout the day. So if Donald Trump was really backing the blue, he'd be backing the LAPD, which is saying that the protests were peaceful, and the only person who can actually cause unrest at this point is Donald Trump. That blows up his entire narrative. That blows up the whole basis for his attack on the city of Los Angeles. And this is exactly what will prevent Donald Trump from going any further. We know what he wants to do. He wants to create a police state. He wants to declare martial law. He wants to create this commotion so he can claim some victory for his illegal deportation plan that's failing. But we have to stop it and call it out. And that is exactly what we saw a candidate for Congress, Kat Abu-Ghazali, who is a friend of mine, call out live on air last night, and I want to take a look.
Yeah, I am absolutely horrified, and this is a turning point. We have to decide, are we allowed to have extrajudicial gangs go around our communities, take people from their homes, ship them to God knows where? Is the president allowed to have his own secret army, secret police that can just take people, hurt people? In Chicago, there was just an ICE raid this last week where they tricked people who were following the legal immigration process into coming for a check-in and then arrested them and assaulted protesters and elected officials. And what they're doing in LA right now is they're testing the waters. They're seeing if we'll stand for this. Obviously, Los Angeles is standing for their community, but this isn't normal. We can't normalize it. And if this keeps going, it's going to come to your city.
But what do you make of the escalation tonight? I mean, specifically, you're saying things like secret police or gangs. We obviously still don't know who these are. I mean, we've asked Steve Patterson throughout the course of the night a few times if he knows who these authorities are that are on the ground. And he has not yet been able to identify. Federal authorities have not yet identified who is on the ground and what specific operation they are carrying out at this point. But you say that if it comes to your city, to pick up on a point that was brought up earlier, what do you think citizens should be doing here? Because there are two kind of competing principles, the ability to protest and then the concern that these protests may be impeding federal operations. And the U.S. Attorney for Central District of California, was very clear. If you are a citizen and impede any type of federal operation, you will be arrested and prosecuted.
What if that federal operation is completely crooked and illegal? What if that federal operation is deporting people to a foreign country without due process? I don't think we should be standing for that federal operation just because it's technically the law. These are our communities, these are our people, and it makes sense that people are terrified and they're angry and they're incensed because no one is safe. If we're allowed to have ICE agents come in with their faces covered in masks and their IDs covered up, and they can just go into any neighborhood, go into any home, say, oh, well, there is a criminal there, there's an illegal there. They could say that about anyone. They can do this to anyone, and they can do it to you too. Do this with every authoritarian regime is they test the waters, they see how much they can scare people into standing by. And I frankly don't blame people that don't want to put their bodily safety or their family's safety in jeopardy. But, we've seen in a neighborhood in San Diego just the other day where neighbors chased ICE vehicles out because the truth is these people, authoritarians, are weak, they are scared, and as soon as you stand up to them, a lot of times they don't know what to do.
They're armed, though.
They are armed, but they still are terrified of people actually understanding that we have power here. And I am not encouraging people to put them and their loved ones' safety in jeopardy. But we have seen time and time again that when you recognize as a community, when you stand by each other, when you refuse to comply with blatantly not only unethical, immoral, but should be illegal orders, that this administration doesn't have power.
But what is kind of the happy medium for Democrats to still be tough on security, but not to empower authoritarianism?
I mean, I'm not sure what we're defining as tougher on security. I feel like the window keeps moving right here. And instead of actually focusing on anything that does make us more secure, on meeting people's material needs, on trying to encourage an immigration process that is not only organized and effective, but helps grow America, helps grow our economy, we just go on this let's be scared, let's demonize people. And Trump has moved this window so far right where it's saying anyone that wants to immigrate is, by definition, a criminal. They're deporting children that have cancer and not making sure that they even have the care they need when they go with their parents that are being deported. This is beyond the pale. And just because Stephen Miller wants to get quotas of brown people that he doesn't want to see on the streets doesn't mean that we should think it's okay.
Yeah, and to your point, even though Trump talks about how he's going to target criminals and gangbangers and drug dealers, if you look at the actual data, the highest increase in the number of people who are in ICE detention are people without any criminal records or criminal charges. And there are a lot of people who have been here legally, hundreds of thousands of people who've been let in legally, whose legal protections he's taken away. So he's effectively turned them
into illegals.
Into illegals, yes.
Into
Exactly.
undocumented, yeah.
We need to continue to speak out against Donald Trump's attacks on the city of Los Angeles and all of the country. His ICE mass thugs that think they can just bust up apartments, go to community centers, invade elementary school graduations, but they can't. We need more Democrats willing to call this out. We're certainly going to on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you're stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.